I am your Miss Arkansas Earth, Rose Pidgorodetska. I was raised by my Ukrainian immigrant parents who instilled the value of family, hard work, and appreciating our earth. When I was 8 years old, my family and I woke up one morning to our home erupting in flames. My parents and 4 siblings managed to escape, but me. My heroic father, risking his own life, rescued me, and I was rushed to a hospital where I was pronounced dead on arrival. But through prayer around the world and the help of modern medicine, I came back to life. My community truly supported my family while we were homeless for months, so once healed, I was determined to have my life's purpose to serve from then on. I attended Eastern Kentucky University, where I served as a student senator over 17,000 students. I was also a student alumni ambassador and a peer mentor for several years. Throughout my time there, I helped with campus cleanup projects and even collected items for our campus food bank, contributing to my now 2,000 service hours. I graduated magna cum laude with a Bachelor's of Arts in Public Relations. Upon graduation, I was nationally recognized by the Women's Business Enterprise Council for my fragrance company, Simply Rose & Company, with its purpose of selling sustainable products and a mission to serve. In 2012, I had the opportunity to visit my family in Ukraine, the breadbasket of Europe. I quickly learned that my ancestors truly understood the value of the land and how to live one with the earth. I had the opportunity to visit a local Ukrainian orphanage my great-uncle pioneered. I was still so inspired by his work in my adulthood that I decided to incorporate my business to donate monthly in supporting the 31 village orphans, especially through the war currently going on. The children are not only learning reading and writing skills, but how to garden as well. Growing up on a farm, my father taught me how to reduce my carbon footprint by gardening and reusing food items into composting. My love for gardening grew as an adult, so I built a greenhouse in my backyard by myself to continue reducing my carbon footprint and live a more organic lifestyle, just as my ancestors did. I share my harvest with friends and family to encourage them to also live a greener lifestyle. The completion of my greenhouse sparked an idea to write a children's book about gardening. This year I published Rose Plants a Garden, and the book will be translated into Ukrainian and Spanish, then sent over to orphanages in Ukraine and Haiti. My mission behind the book is to inspire the next generation to live sustainably and to give back to their local community, because when we live sustainably, we are truly becoming one with Earth. I joined Miss Earth USA because I truly believe in Beauties for Cause's mission to serve and inspire all generations about the beauty of our Earth and appreciate our land through service.
Good morning, good evening, everyone. It's Adrian from the Pageant Project. My special guest for today's proceedings is Rose Pidgorodetska, who is Miss Arkansas Earth. Rose, hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. As I told you, it's that weird time between Christmas and New Year's right now where no one really knows which way is up. How has your festive period been? I've watched a previous interview you've done. I know you had, at least a year ago, 2 small businesses. I don't know if that
Mhm.
number has swollen or decreased, but if you're like most solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, that Christmas can be a very manic time. So how has your festive period been?
It has been very, very busy. I still have those 2 small businesses. I have a fragrance company that sells, soy candles, goat milk soaps, bath bombs, and around that fragrance type, and then I have a candle supply business as well, and I have had 4 part-time staff with me helping along the way of this crazy season, and it's finally slowed down. So now I can really just focus on Miss Earth USA prep work and getting to nationals this Sunday.
Can you believe it's come around this quickly?
No, I can't believe it. But I'm
I think if
excited.
you I'm sure you are. I'm just like if you're like most small business owners who are busy
Mhm.
over the festive period, then you don't have time to breathe, and then you just get to a day and you're like, oh wow, it's gotten to that day already. So when are you actually leaving for Miss Earth USA?
Yes, so I leave Sunday and then I'll come back, I think January 9th, unless I do win Miss Earth USA, and then my stay will be a little bit longer, but Thankfully, after January 1st, my season slows down a lot, so I can truly just focus on the duties of the title and what I want to accomplish for the new year, all those good things.
If I just back up for a sec, so you said you have it's simply Rose and Company, or simply Rose and Co, isn't it? Your small
Correct.
business.
Mhm.
Okay, and
Yeah,
you sell soy candles,
right.
goat milk soap, bath bombs. I'm just
Mhm.
thinking you would be like the perfect pageant sponsor, would you not? I mean,
I know. Yes.
I'm just
Some
going.
of the girls some of the girls and I this summer at Miss Earth USA's mission trip in California, we were talking about making individual candles with the states on it,
Yeah,
and I thought that was brilliant. That's a good
abs-
idea.
a- absolutely. I mean, I still don't really know what's a bath bomb. I had one once, and I didn't honestly know how to use it. Now, the one I got was it was a ball. It was wrapped in plastic. I didn't know whether you were supposed to rip the plastic, do what, and then throw it in. What is a bath bomb?
A bath bomb is essentially, just a ball of different fragrances that you put in your bath, and it, is a really cool experience actually because you put the ball in and it starts fizzing, and there's, like, jewelry inside of it, or sometimes there's different types of items inside, so it makes it really fun and spontaneous as well.
Jewelry.
Yeah, I've seen jewelry in it. I've done a couple of vendor events this Christmas season, and some of the moms asked me if I had little toy soldiers in them for their little boys. So maybe that's an idea for next year.
Okay, can I just ask, whilst we're on the subject of giving you ideas, that I'm sure that many people have already given you, but if you can put jewelry in it, has anyone proposed by hiding an engagement ring in a bath bomb?
I'm not entirely sure, but I bet that it has happened before. I thought that'd be a little bit strange of an idea, but I mean, it's pretty creative.
Creative, it's original. You just hope that the person sees the ring and doesn't flush it down the sink, I guess. But Rose, let me start with the easy question. Tell us how you got involved in the crazy world of pageantry.
Oh my gosh, this story is one that still I just laugh at, but when I was in the 7th grade, I asked my parent or I was looking through a newspaper and I saw a little clipping for a county fair pageant, Miss Montgomery County Fair, and I thought, "Well, this would be kind of a cool idea." So I asked my parents, I said, "Hey, can I do this pageant? And it just looks really fun, and I don't know, I've never done anything like this before, so would it be okay if I did it?" And my parents thought on it for a couple of days, and my father came back to me and he said, "Rose, I will let you do this under one condition." And I got real nervous. He said, "Rose, I will let you do this if you can present a 10-point PowerPoint presentation as to why we should let you do this." I
Yeah.
thought he was absolutely insane. But my goodness, I found 10 reasons. I don't remember what they were, but I found 10 reasons and I won Miss Congeniality that year. So I didn't win, but hey, walking away with Miss Congeniality, that was still an honor, honestly.
But you had to present this PowerPoint to your parents?
Correct. Mhm.
Are you forever traumatized by PowerPoints from now on?
No, honestly, I mean, at the time, as a 7th grader, you don't think about that, but presenting and public speaking, if I guess my parents' thought process through that was, if I don't
Yeah.
have confidence and comfortability of speaking in front of them, there's no way they're gonna let me embarrass myself in front of a group of people, but I did it, so here I am, what, 15 years later? So
Wow, that's quite a journey. Everyone's a bit different in this, but obviously that's how you started in pageantry, and most people
right.
when they start in pageantry have no idea what they're getting themselves into. Even if
Right,
I watched Miss Universe, I watched Miss USA. Well, watching it on TV is very different to actually being there in person.
yeah.
What has kept you involved for 15 years? Because obviously running a small business, it's not like, you've studied in college. It's not like you don't have anything else to do with your time.
This is
So
true.
what has kept you involved and intrigued for 15 years?
Yeah, so I started out with just my local county fair and then did a little bit of traveling pageants through high school, which was really fun, honestly, but that was more of it, just having a good time and putting myself out there to develop public speaking skills. That was the one thing I really wanted to focus on. And in college, I did the Miss America system. I won my college Miss Eastern Kentucky University title, went to Miss Kentucky America System, and I got second runner up. And I really am grateful for that experience, but it was so much at one time that I completely forgot how to be a contestant, and it was overwhelming, to be honest.
Mhm.
So, I took about 5 years off, sorry, about 4 years off because it was a lot to process and, with the pageant environment again. So, when Miss Earth USA system was brought up to me last year, beginning of last year, I was a little bit cautious because I wasn't entirely sure what this system was all about, but
Yeah.
after doing the research and what I do on a daily basis is exactly what this organization lines up with. Living organically, living sustainably. My business, we focus about 85 to 90% of our business is run sustainably. I sell sustainable products. And then this year I ended up building a greenhouse
Mm,
um, by myself.
mm.
Hammer and nails and some glue. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but um, that has allowed me to just progress even further of living sustainably every day. And I harvest my produce and give it to friends. And like my rosemary, I dried it for this season. I get to use it for my cooking right now. And I just made some sweet potatoes and put a little on top. So it's those type of realms that I do every single day that I feel like just truly aligns with the mission, the core values of this organization.
I did see the greenhouse in your video, and I was immediately intrigued, only because we've started growing things in our garden.
Yes.
And just yesterday, we had we also got a deep fry, so we had potatoes, and
Oh.
then my dad turned them into like chips or wedges, and with tomatoes down there. We've got a couple of chickens roaming around down there, so that the whole idea of growing something yourself and then eating it is very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
When you decided to build a greenhouse, where did you start? I mean, are you normally very hands-on and very good with hammer and nails and things like that?
Yeah, so growing up, my dad is a farmer. He's from the village of Ukraine, so he immigrated from Ukraine, and my mom is from the city in Ukraine. They both immigrated. So growing up, my dad was definitely had a green thumb, and he taught us some things here and there, some tips and tricks for gardening and how to um, have richer soil and composting. So that was just something I was pretty much raised my entire life to know and grow. But the greenhouse aspect of it, I did a lot of research and I asked my parents some questions as well. And then I just honestly just took the plunge and I did it. And it was truly an experience building a greenhouse in 100-degree weather this summer.
Oh,
But
do you need a greenhouse when it's 100 degrees out? Because isn't the
I
point of the
know.
greenhouse to make things hot? Do you need it to be hotter than 100
I know.
degrees?
Yes, I know. I've done in-ground, so I have an in-ground garden, and then I have an above-ground garden, which is the greenhouse. So I was able to plant 2 different types of ways to get, fruits and vegetables this year.
So do you sort of have farming in your blood then? Because I remember looking at your video,
Mhm.
and it seems to me that it seems to run in your blood, the green thumb aspect.
Yes. Oh, yes. So in Ukraine, the village where my dad is from, I actually got to visit in 2012, and all the food they grow is what they eat. All the animals that they raise, all of that, that is what they eat, and, it is truly an experience to see a seed all the way up to produce, like, it's just
Yeah.
so cool that you have the ability to do that and get to see it just sprout in front of your eyes, and my greenhouse adventure sparked the idea of writing a children's book, so I am sending 50% of the sales of my book, to a Ukrainian orphanage that I've been supporting for the last several years, and they also grow their own food too, which I think is so neat. So they will get copies of Rose Plants a Garden, actually translated in Ukrainian,
Mm.
hopefully next year.
I did want to ask you
Yeah.
about your book. Obviously, I'm an author as well. Just so you know, Sunny, Miss Oklahoma, has said hi, Sister Queen,
Hey,
and
Sunny.
Ralph is watching as well.
Hello,
Uh,
Ralph.
So your children's book, Rose Plants a
Mhm.
Garden, and for people if they want to purchase it, there's a
Yeah.
URL there, and it's also in the link below this video. So simply
Mhm.
roseandco.com, rose-plants-a-garden. I'm saying dash; it's not got all those words dash in it.
Right.
How did you get the idea to write a children's book? I mean, look, it's a fantastic idea, and I love the fact that you're sending money back to something that's obviously very close to your heart. And
Yes.
Ukraine has been in the news for the past 12 months, and obviously not for particularly good reasons. We'll get to that in a sec. But how did you get the idea of writing a children's book to
Mhm.
begin with?
Yeah, so the idea sparked from, like I said, my greenhouse, but I have always wanted to write a children's book. That's something that's been on my bucket list since I can honestly remember. And gardening is something I'm really passionate about. And when I say passionate, I am passionate about it. And I wanted the opportunity to educate children that gardening is a great part of life and that you too
Mm,
can reduce your carbon footprint. And when I go to schools and I go to classrooms and I read my book, about 60% of them have gardened with their grandmother or their grandfather has taught them how to plant a seed or they uh, grew cucumbers or watermelon, and you hear all these stories just trickle down from that, and it's the impact that at the end of the day I want to leave and that legacy that I hope to carry on from my ancestry, being a Ukrainian.
what is it that you're passionate about when it comes to gardening? And I mean, because you talk about legacy and impact, so people go, hang on, it's just a garden. But obviously, it's not
Right.
just that for you. I was telling someone else that for me, I think if you're gardening, it's sort of the most primal way of connecting to the earth. And I
Yes.
think you learn to respect the world in a different way, or look at it through a different lens if you actually have had to grow your own produce,
Hmm.
or raise your own animals and then actually slaughter them if you're going to eat them, etc., etc., etc. So, in terms of legacy, what specifically is a legacy you want to leave behind in terms of gardening?
Yes, I think it's so important to be able to see growth and that as the world evolves, there is constant growth happening. And for myself, I love the ability to grow and grasp new ideas to be able to grow. And that is a very visual representation that you can see right before your eyes, growth. And in myself, I may not be able to see it visually, but I can feel it. I know it that there is growth constantly happening in my life. And when I speak to schools and I speak to different types of groups, focusing that growth is an essential part of your life. It's an essential part of what we're supposed to do in our lives, and that's the legacy that I want to leave um, as Miss Arkansas or even as Miss Earth USA.
And if I circle back to the beginning of your video, this is probably the part that blew me the most away. You're talking about growth, and then as a child, you were in a household fire and were pronounced dead.
Hmm.
Um, and look, thank God you made it through. You're here. Um, does that? I can only imagine what that's like as a child to go through something like that. But does that sort of, when you talk about growth, is that sort of any motivation to spur you forwards? Do you ever feel that, oh, I got another chance at life that I shouldn't waste a minute of it? Is that part of the story as well?
I think so. Um, as a little girl, I was trapped in a house fire, and nobody wanted to go into the house. The firefighters, the ambulance, everyone had gotten there, but
Mm,
no one wanted to rescue me because they thought I was a lost cause at that point because the flames and the smoke was so strong. But my father, who was along the sidelines, the firemen were holding him back and saying that you're risking your own life doing this. So
mm,
he pushed him to the side and he went in, and the story that I heard was he went in 3 times, but I recently talked to my mom about it, and she said, "No, Rose, he went in about 8 different times." And he was
wow.
completely covered in smoke, and he had the hardest time breathing, and at one point, my family thought he had died in the fire as
Mm,
well. So when they pulled me out, I was completely covered in black smoke. My lungs were not working at all. I had no heartbeat. So the fact that I'm here today is just a true testament and a miracle. That's the only word that I can think of as a miracle. And I know from that story and that experience in my life that I'm meant for so much more, that my story and my journey is not over yet. It's still being written. And that's part of writing the book. My journey is still being written, and there's more that I want to do. And I want to write more books, and I want to inspire. And that's part of the legacy that I also want to leave is becoming an active author as well.
I think I paused the video just because you had an article up there about the fire, and
Hmm.
I think I remember. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a basement fire, or the fire started in the basement, and it was so hot that afterwards, I think the firefighters still needed like a day or so to put it out, and then I think the building collapsed. Am I just imagining things now?
So wherever the house where the fire was actually happening, I was in the
Mm,
basement of it, and
right.
right above it was the living room, and there was a hole that was about 12 feet by 12 feet, just completely collapsed. And I went back after recovery because they couldn't touch the building for several months, and we were even homeless for several months because our house had burned. And I had the opportunity to go back and visit. And when I say opportunity, it was just an eye-opening experience to see
Mm,
that that could have been the place that I had
died.
burned to death. I
Yep.
had really died, and I feel like that moment was just so pivotal for me and keeping hope that there is so much more to my story and what I hope to accomplish one day, and also inspire others that we
Mm,
all go through experiences, we all go through trials. Life is not easy all the time, and we can overcome our obstacles. I overcame having completely black smoke where and my heart stopped
mhm.
beating, but I overcame those obstacles, and no matter what this life presents itself, we can still overcome our obstacles, and that's part of what I hope to accomplish with the Beauties for a Cause organization. If I were to become Miss Earth USA, that's something I really want to focus on. Is we all experience trials, but at the end of the day, we can
Mhm.
overcome it as well.
Just to bring you up to date with the comments, Jessica here has chimed in and said Rose and said beautiful young woman inside and out. So there
Oh,
you
hey,
go.
Jessica.
Rose, let me just ask you. So I get the sense that you're someone, I mean, people talk about wanting to inspire, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but I get the
Mhm,
feeling that for yourself, you really do genuinely have big plans. Obviously, you have your own small business, and I would know myself being an entrepreneur, you that's not the easy way out.
no.
In many ways, it'd be easy just to have a 9 to 5. No disrespect, but
Right.
when you know that you're going to get paid, kind of no matter what, that's one path for many people. But then when you're
Mhm,
crazy enough to become an entrepreneur, and someone defined an entrepreneur as someone who makes enough money to pay for their mistakes, and I think that's fairly accurate. Let me ask you. I've already asked you about legacy, but in terms of your future plans, specifically in inspiring other people, I think that's the interesting thing for me is it's not
mhm,
just about you, it's about you want to have an impact on other people.
mhm,
What sort of impact do you actually let me backtrack. Where did you get that from? Because not everyone has sort of at the center of their being this need or this desire to give back to other people. There's a lot of
mhm.
selfish behavior in the world. Why is it that it's so important for you to give back to others?
Yeah, so after my house fire, where we were homeless for about 3.5 months, my community truly stepped up. We were given everything we needed
Mm,
for clothes and extra money for food, and school was right around the corner. And we got brand new backpacks donated by different businesses and organizations in our small town. So I think that was something, as I look back, probably the very beginning of where it all started for me.
right.
But I think when it truly settled in and was just like the flame in the fire was in college. I took a leadership class, and it was specifically for first generation college students. And we got to learn about different leaders and what makes a leader, and are
Mm,
you born a leader or are you developed into a leader. And I just remember sitting in class, and it was just something that is still so ingrained in my memory. I remember sitting in class, and I thought, I want to be that too. I want to make a difference. I want to and the word that came up to my mind constantly through that class, that semester class, was inspire. that's my
mm,
that's my word, inspire. Whether it's through business, whether it's through pageantry, or whether it's just me, who I am on a daily basis, to be just to have the opportunity to inspire in different capacities is really what I would love to do with my life.
And how do you feel so we said you've got a 15-year pageantry journey with a
Mhm.
break in the middle, to be fair. But your pageantry journey, how do you feel that's helped you with your ability to inspire?
Yeah, that actually took a while for me to to really realize that because through business, it's really easy, overcoming obstacles and all that. But I think, especially to contestants who are coming in to Miss Earth USA as their first year,
Mm,
um, I think it's just important to remember who you are. It's so easy to be distracted by what you may think people want you to be. There is no mold, there is no one size fits all. So through my pageant journey and experience, I think I have found myself and just rooted a lot deeper in who I am as a person. And I know exactly what I want to do, and I know my vision, I know my mission and purpose. And that's what I told the judges in my interview. I
mm.
know my mission and my vision and my purpose, and I'm ready for it as the next Miss Earth USA.
So let's dig into that a bit. So if you were
Sure.
lucky enough to have the crown placed on your head in, I'm
Mhm.
looking at my calendar, it's about a week's time.
Yes.
Still can't quite believe it's coming to the end of this year. But that aside, if you were lucky enough to have the crown placed on your head at the end, what are your sort of immediate plans with it? Like, what would you
Mhm.
do in the next sort of week or so, other than recover from the pageant?
Yes.
And maybe what are your plans if you have them, like for the year?
Yeah. So I understand that as soon as that crown is placed on my head, my journey to Miss Earth begins there. And scheduling different media opportunities. I know that the board has told us that there are a couple in Orlando locally, but I have already prepared my hometown, different radio visits, newspapers, um, that I want to do some sort of publications with them as well. So continuing the the media outlets, keep that ball rolling from Orlando. Some of the things I want to do within that first, I say 90 days, is read more to children around not only in my state, but in surrounding states, and then
Mhm,
hopefully through the year, in every state that I visit, especially for the state competitions. When I'm there for a state competition, crowning, Miss DC or Miss California, there for the pageant, maybe taking a day or two and visiting schools to read my book, because that is the heart of who I am and my Think Global Act Local project that I have truly grown deep roots for. So I want to be able to continue spreading that. Another thing is visiting local state engineering competitions. I have in the state of Kentucky when I was at EKU as a student, I visited several um, state fair engineering competitions, which is definitely not something I've really ever been interested in, but they allowed me to come and just help out and volunteer. And those students are incredibly talented with energy sources and new ideas and innovation. So I would like to visit a lot more state engineering competitions because women are becoming or young girls are becoming a lot more popular in that
mm,
field. So inspiring them that they too can be breaking glass ceilings in a man's world, quote unquote, but also be a pageant girl. And the Miss Earth USA system has that beautiful double lining where you can be a hardworking boss or owning your own business or being an engineer or doctor or lawyer, but you can also be a pageant girl. And I think it's important to educate young girls that this organization does care about sustainability. It does care about change and wants to make a difference for the future. So aligning those two together, I feel like that's part of what I want to do as Miss Earth USA.
mm.
Just continue marketing our brand on a larger scale.
I just have a question about state fairs because I'm from Australia and we don't have state fairs. Now, I've heard about state fairs or county fairs because I've seen them
Mhm.
on TV, but does every state have state fairs or is it the more rural ones? And what is a state fair? Like how big is it? What are people actually doing there? So you said there's engineering, sort of engineering themed things. I could imagine there's also farm things and maybe some fun
Mhm.
games. Is that what a state fair is?
Yeah, so I think that every state does have its own state fair, but this
Right.
in particular was a high school competition geared towards engineering specifically. So different solar panels, different ways that they can innovate with the future of our
Mm,
resources or being more greener. And I just remember seeing the most incredible inventions that I'd ever seen. So I think educating those young girls that you can bring that into this system, and we applaud you for doing those things instead of shunning you away because that's just not what we think is a pageant type, mold.
yeah. Yeah, I love that, and certainly you building your own greenhouse, I can see that you're tilted that way
Yeah.
as well. Do you
Maybe they can give
remember
me ideas.
any particular inventions that you saw that made you go, "Wow"? I mean, the only thing I can think of is a potato clock. I remember that experiment, and I know of solar
Oh my
panels,
gosh.
obviously, but I've never done
Mhm.
an experiment with them. In chemistry, the only thing I really did was blow things up. Were there any sort of, do you remember any of the particular inventions that caught your eye?
I think I remember different irrigation systems, a lot more efficiency in
Yeah.
our automobiles. I mean, that was a couple years ago. Um, Different ways of energy sources, I think, was a big section
Mm,
of that fair. But the way that when I think about it, when I was in 5th grade, I just remember this. When I was in 5th grade, I actually did a science fair with a light bulb of, like, how energy sources goes to a light bulb.
okay.
So I guess it comes in full circle.
What, you mean you hooked it up to, like, the
Energy
mains or
sources, yeah, I had to create my own energy source to light up a light bulb. I don't remember exactly how I did it, but I remember doing that.
it's great, isn't it, that we learned how to
Oh
do
my
something in
gosh.
5th grade and we could do it then, but we can no longer
Yeah,
do it. That would be very fascinating. In
I just
terms
remember
of
that.
that's a cool childhood memory. I don't remember 5th grade, much of it. It was too long ago. But in terms of, so obviously you're busy and then people are gonna want to know, okay, so you got the
Mhm,
title plans, you got 2 small businesses on the side. So how are you going to time manage?
mhm, mhm. I've spoken to the board of Miss Earth USA in their HR department, and I really need, bottom line, 2 days a week in my office or somehow connection to Zoom or Facebook Live or something with them, some sort of, or FaceTiming, just have communication with my staff. But um, January through till about, I say, August, September is my slow month. So I have the
Mhm.
ability to travel and go to different states and read my book across America, and partnering with Read Across America as well. Um, so I'm able to do that. But I have an incredible staff, and they know my system in-house very, very well. A lot of them have been with me for a year to 2.5 years. So
Mhm.
they know how it's run, what needs to be done, and as long as I'm checking in with them, making sure they know what quantity units and all that kind of stuff, everything I can do is electronic. So as long as I have Wi-Fi, I'm good. Yeah.
Sounds good. How did you go about finding your team? Because I think for a business owner
Mhm.
that's not only a challenge, but it's also sort of your first step of growth when you know that you can no longer just do things yourself. So you go from solopreneur to genuine sort
Mhm.
of small business, and you have to manage staff, and there are all sorts of other challenges with that. How did you go about assembling your team? I'm curious.
Yeah, at first it was really hard.
Mm,
Let go. It's hard to let go when you've been doing it for so long yourself,
yep.
and trusting other people to do it, knowing that they will make a mistake here and
Yep.
there, but to be able just to have the ability to keep going and learn from those mistakes. How do we pivot and continue on with what we want to accomplish? A lot of my staff, because I've had more than that, but currently we have 4, just word of mouth and people I go to church with, and friends, sisters that I went to school with, and just really honing in on just local people, and it wasn't anything crazy, but and just having people that I know that I can trust at the end of the day when I'm not there, they can do it.
Yep.
Um, that is a big blessing in my opinion, at least.
I don't want to just dismiss that casually because I want to let me ask you, you can answer for yourself. I'm not going to answer for you. But how does it feel being able to provide employment for other people? Because we're living in crazy times, and obviously COVID destroyed a lot of small businesses. So
Right.
how does it feel to be able to provide meaningful, gainful employment for other people in your local community?
Mhm. So I'll also add this. My staff is all young women who are ages 17, 18, or 19. So they're in their prime time
Yep.
of going to college, about to go to college, or in college.
Mm.
And when I first started to hire them, I wanted to see, are they moldable and are they interested in growing? And that was my initial mission, is inspiring young women to become
Mm.
entrepreneurs, or if they're interested in business, how does that process look like? Because the school system is not going to teach you how to do it.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
not going to teach you what does it mean to be an entrepreneur, handling all the hats at one time. They're seeing firsthand how I'm managing it, and they can take things that I'm doing, or they can learn from things that I'm doing into their own businesses, and majority of them are wanting to start their own business. So it's truly humbling to know that the women that I am mentoring and inspiring are wanting to do the same thing that I'm doing. It's really the biggest blessing that I've had, honestly.
I mean, it's a very real blessing as well because,
Mhm,
someone is, not only are they growing and you're inspiring them, but you're actually providing them with meaningful employment as well, which
yeah,
is no small
mhm,
feat. Let me just ask you about the entrepreneur thing because I think a lot of people would guess, but we probably, as both of us being entrepreneurs, know that school really doesn't prepare you for going into the world of
no,
entrepreneurship. But you were, I think you said, you're first generation college student yourself.
mhm,
So, and obviously you graduated, I think we call it in Australia with honors, but cum laude. So
mhm.
you did very well in the college system. So let me just ask you this: how you did very well, your first generation, you went to college. How do you feel it helped with starting up your business, and what sort of balance is it between, okay, I learned this in college, these skills, but I had to learn this on the job by doing it. Like, for example, you might learn math in school, but you don't learn how to do your tax return and things like that, or how to do it. You might learn how to
Right,
write, but you don't learn how to write a resume, for example. So how much
mhm,
did you learn from the education system? I'd be really curious. And how much did you just have to learn by doing it yourself?
yeah. So both my parents are entrepreneurs. I feel like that is the absolute biggest asset that I have, being an entrepreneur. But I started my first small business when I was 17 years old. So that is another thing I tell my girls whenever I'm hiring, or and telling them that, "Hey, I started a business when I was your age,
Mhm.
so you can do it too." Um, I did my small business all the way through college, and I think the biggest lessons that I got to learn for my business was, like, marketing. I remember sitting in my
Mm.
marketing class, and my professor was teaching about types of marketing techniques or different types of promotionals, and that night, I would go in and plug that information into my business. It was very hands-on
Yeah.
versus, "Oh, maybe I'll learn this. Maybe I'll apply this one day, and I'll just kinda store it," and then you eventually forget it. But I
Yeah.
had the opportunity to actually market the different types of material that I was learning in class into my business. So those type I think marketing was probably my biggest,
Mhm.
um, education lessons that I learned from college, but taxes are definitely not something to mess with, and
No.
it's not a joke. So having that was learning about taxes and different types of write-offs, and quarterly taxes versus income taxes, and tangible taxes that I'm having to pay soon, and so you just learn all these things that school doesn't teach you. A lot of online information, or you can watch YouTube videos, will teach you all
Yeah.
of that, but
Yeah.
having a wonderful accountant, in my opinion, is your biggest asset. Mhm.
They do come in handy. Also, having a good lawyer, for better or worse, that does
That
come in
too.
handy as well. It's not cheap, but it does come in handy. In your experience, what do you think the biggest challenges for young female, specifically young female entrepreneurs is? So, Getting into business is hard for anyone, but
Mhm.
in terms of female entrepreneurs, is it they feel that they're too self-conscious to market? Do you feel that they just don't believe in their idea? What are the specific challenges you faced? I'll be fascinated to know as a young female entrepreneur as to just a general entrepreneur.
Mhm. I think the biggest, I guess, barrier that I kept experiencing was people when I would tell people that I was an entrepreneur, I had a small business, or, "Hey, I'm going to an event, a vendor event this weekend to sell my
Mm,
product." I kept hearing from people, "So when are you getting a real job?" Constantly, all the time. And I thought, "Wow, like, is this really not a job? Is this not something that is considered a real job?" And it got to the point where it was, I mean, that talk was so bad in my mind from people that I stopped working as an entrepreneur, and I worked a 9 to 5 job
wow.
for about a month and a half. I was
A month and
it
a
was
half.
a month and a half, let me tell
You
you.
lasted that long.
It was a hard a month and a half because, it was a 9 to 5, and the job was about an hour away, so I had to drive one way an hour and then one way back
Oh
another
god.
hour.
Mhm.
I was like, "This is just too much for me," and I was so miserable
Mhm.
to the point where I was maybe having about 5 to 6 hours of sleep every single night, if that, and in the middle of the night, I would have almost, like, panic attacks
Yep,
because it was just too much, and I could not
yep.
handle it, and I remember one day, I was at church and at a women's conference, and I was just like, "I don't know what to do, I need some guidance here, like, come on, give me some answers." And it was just the sweetest, just simplest thought came to my mind and said, "It's time. It's time to
Mm.
let go." And that week, Ernst& and Young, which is a major worldwide accounting
Huge.
firm,
Yeah.
they placed an order for my candles for an or I think it was an international women's business conference. And I thought, "Wow, this is
That's a
definitely
sign.
this is a sign. This is a sign for sure." And then later that year, Capital One, I started making candles for them for promotional events as well. So getting to see those, I mean, those big businesses interested in someone like me and my business and what I'm wanting to do, I mean, that was just this all the signs I needed, honestly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, I lasted in my job, a year and a bit. I thought I was bad. You got me beat.
I
You
got you
lasted a
beat.
month. You you lasted a month and a half. Can I just ask you before we move to the close, what was it that made you last only a month and a half? Because I think a lot of people don't understand, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying that you have to convince them, but for me, this sort of being locked into a very rigid structure where people are sometimes placed above you, not because they're good at their job, but just because they've been there
Mhm.
for a certain amount of time, and then being told you have to do things a certain way when you can see very clearly there's a better way of doing it, but no, you have to do it this other way just because
Right.
it's the way we've always done it. And there's very little, I feel, creativity sometimes when you're in a
Mhm.
9 to 5. You just have to do what you're told. I don't mind following orders, but I need to express my creativity. And I found
Right.
that business actually is where I'm most creative. So,
Mhm.
what was it that led you to lasting a grand total of a month and a half?
I still can't believe it. I felt so bad. I was the only I was the one selected out of, I think, 90 resumes, so I felt horrible because, I mean, I really wanted the job for what it was,
Yeah,
but when it really came down to it, the day-to-day, working in an environment where the women were just it was just too it wasn't very positive at all, and there wasn't much room for growth for myself, and, um, I didn't feel respected either. I know that my generation, the millennial generation, respect is a big one, and when if we don't feel
yeah,
respect, we don't really wanna be there anymore,
yep,
and I felt that so evidently every single day, and they treated me I mean, they treated me the women in the staff treated me good, but it was not something that I could say to myself, "I feel like I'm growing," and if you're not growing
yeah,
at at a 21-year-old, age,
yeah,
it's just I didn't feel like that was where I was meant to be, and I
yep,
was the, PR director for a local chamber of commerce, so business, PR, that was my
mhm,
degree. I thought that was exactly what it was I was supposed to do, but I know that I'm meant to impact more than just in an office
Mm,
in a small community. So pageantry opens that door where you're impacting and you're leaving a legacy, not just nationwide, but worldwide. And I absolutely love that. And that's thrilling
mhm.
to me. Mhm.
It's interesting, isn't it? Sometimes there's a path that people feel that we should follow, or we ourselves feel that we're supposed to follow because that's what
Right.
everyone else does. And then we just wake up I don't know if it happens to you, but you wake up one day or you trying to go to bed one night and just go, it's just not right. There's something, and I can't
Mhm.
maybe sometimes you can't quite language it. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but you just know this is not where I'm supposed to be. Yes, I could
Right.
do it. And I could
Mhm.
maybe even do it very well. That's the thing. So you had to
Yep.
beat out another 89 people for that job. So people go, "Oh, but you must be so good at it and you got it. So don't throw it away. Don't throw it away." But you're just like, at
Mhm.
the same time, it's not you. And it can be very
Right.
scary to give something up because
Mhm.
you're destined for something more.
Yep. And something that I love with this organization in particular, Miss Earth USA, the first little bit, the directors are holding your hand, they're letting you
Mhm.
know that they are there, they're teaching you the system, they're teaching you the ways of what we're supposed to do, and I love that they're alongside us throughout the whole journey, but after those several months, you are on your own. You are
Yeah.
traveling state to state. You are going places that
Mm.
you don't have somebody there holding your hand. And I think that's been the biggest asset as a business owner. I've traveled to over 35 states in America and Canada and also Ukraine and Germany. And I've done a lot of traveling and I love it. It's
Mm.
thrilling to me. It's so exciting. And that's a component of my business that I've also been able to do. And as Miss Earth USA, I feel like I'm very comfortable already for that job because
Yeah.
the traveling component isn't terrifying to me. It's not something that makes me worried or anything like that because that's something I thoroughly enjoy.
I think that's a huge asset in your
Mhm.
favor as well. I saw well, it was a mind-blowing statistic that I think there's about 40% or 50, I think it's 40% of Americans don't actually have a passport, which means obviously they have no intent to travel. And I've noticed that there's a very big difference in
Wow.
people when I speak to people with
Mhm.
Americans who've been overseas and people who have not. And I
Yes.
think in order to be not only represent the US, but potentially represent the world as Miss Earth,
Yep.
it's really, really critically important to have a global perspective. You
Absolutely.
can't not want to travel around. You can't not want to be curious and see and appreciate other people's different languages, cultures, and
Mhm.
things like that. That's a crucial part of bringing people together. On that note, the Ukraine situation, I don't want to delve into the politics of it at all, but I just want to ask
Mhm.
quickly, um, has it impacted you personally? I have to believe it has. And in what ways? I mean, I live in Australia. We don't have wars here. So, and then obviously this has been dragging on now for almost a year.
Yes.
Um, has it affected you personally? Have you had family there? What has that been like for yourself?
Mhm. I did visit in 2012, and I got to see a lot of Ukraine, anywhere from the eastern side to the western side, and it is truly devastating to see the places that you visited and the history that you got to experience and you got to see is no longer there because the
Yeah,
buildings are gone. They're just completely demolished. And you almost think like, for what?
yeah,
And my family, I do have family still there. Majority of my immediate family is here, but I do have my parents have cousins and friends and village um, community
mm,
and I think the first month of the war happening, I found out that I had a second cousin I think that was killed right on the front lines, and then
right.
they're recruiting men all the way up to 60 years old, and it just
Oh,
blows your mind because they never even had guns before, they were banned, and now they're just handing them out,
yeah,
and they don't really know how to use it, so it's I think I had somebody also, a family friend who passed away, who was in, like, their 50s
mm,
because of that situation, and every day my family is worried that they are gonna be next, that their village is gonna be next, or their city is gonna be next, and I was talking to you about that Ukrainian orphanage.
mm,
It is now becoming a refuge center for people because they have no home. The children also are growing in numbers, and I have had the ability to send almost 2,000 candles that I have made with my staff. Right when the war happened, we shipped over about 2,000 candles to Ukraine because they had no electricity and it was
Yeah.
winter.
Yeah.
They get feet of snow. So that was my opportunity to see, wow, how can I impact the world? How can I impact in this situation as well? And sending candles that had inscriptions of just different inspiration quotes, and I translated it into Ukrainian so they
Ukrainian.
could read it.
Yep. Yep.
And I thought, wow, to be that light source in a dark time, I thought that's all I can really do. And we did it. So we sent over 2,000 candles, and I'm about to send over some more right after Miss Earth USA as well.
Yeah. It's terrible, isn't it? It's a terrible situation, and I agree with you. I understand like
Mhm.
what it's being fought over, but I just don't understand why. I don't see
Right.
why anyone could think it's acceptable to just kill anyone, let alone civilians, and then have people, as you said, up to 60 years old having to fight to defend their homes. And when you see places that you've remembered since childhood just leveled and
Yeah.
destroyed, it's like, what did you, why? It's completely senseless to me.
And if
And
anything
yes,
too,
sorry.
I feel like every time I've been able to speak to, it allows me to share with others that we are so privileged to live here in America. It is truly a blessing to
Mm,
be living here where freedom is a word that we don't take lightly here in America.
yeah.
And every day I feel like I've become more grateful to live here. And my parents
Mm,
tell us all the time that it is we're so thankful that we brought our families here and had you guys
yeah.
and that we can live without worrying that someone's going to put our gun to our head because of the
Mm,
religion that we believe in. And that's why they left Ukraine. They fled because of religious persecution that
right.
they just didn't want to experience anymore. And I think that honestly has been the biggest impact from myself is having a very having a heart of just gratitude every single
Mm,
day.
yeah, absolutely. Um, okay. Well, let's move towards the close. Just before we do our final 10 questions, is there
Okay.
anyone you would like to give a shout out to? It can be
Oh my
pageant
gosh.
or otherwise.
All my community. I had a fundraiser, um, in my hometown. I had a fundraiser, a painting fundraiser, and I had 25 people show up. Such an incredible group of people. And I also had an online auction, and local businesses have supported me so much. My parents have supported me in the most incredible way. And then also, um, just everyone online as well who has just followed my journey. I'm so grateful that you all are just here with me in this experience as well.
Just need to ask, do you have a favorite Ukrainian dish?
Oh my gosh, yes.
What is it? I need to ask. This is how I travel through other people.
Oh my okay, so Ukrainians are known for their breads and soups. They are the breadbasket of the world, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my favorite is a type of grain. It's called hrechka, and I think it's buckwheat. Essentially, that's what it
Okay.
is. It's
Yeah.
buckwheat. It's very healthy for you. And the way that my mom prepares it, she taught me, and now I make it all the time, and I'll be able to carry that dish on to my children as well. So, freshka, that's what it's called.
Like I need to look this up. I love hearing. I mean, learning different languages is amazing, but that takes a while. But I feel like if you eat someone else's like national dish, you get a
Right.
little bit of that different because there's so many hundreds or thousands of years that have gone to making dishes that I really
Yes.
feel that you get a bit of cultural appreciation.
I know
Certainly
borscht is
different.
another one. Do you know borscht?
Yes, borscht, is that beetroot soup?
Yes, that's really popular too. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that one. I mean, being in Australia, we're in the
Mm,
middle of summer, so it's probably not borscht. It's probably not soup weather, but
yeah.
come to winter, definitely,
That's true.
definitely. All right, Rose, final 10 questions. Here we go. Number
Okay.
one, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word, inspire. I told you that. That's my favorite word, inspire.
Nice. Number two, what is your least favorite word?
Oh my goodness. Um, taxes?
That's the first one. This is. You mean because you guys say like when something goes cactus, that means it's gone bad? Is that what you mean, or you
Oh,
just mean the
no,
plant cactus?
taxes.
Oh, taxes! I thought you said cactus. Okay, that makes more sense.
Taxes. That's probably my least favorite word.
I sympathize with that one
Yes.
very much at my call. Number 3 in life, what gets you excited? What turns you on?
Um, just getting to travel, honestly. I've done it with my business for so many years, and I just wanna continue doing that, traveling.
And number 4, what turns you off?
Oh boy, a bad meal. When you go to a restaurant and order something and it's not good.
Do you have one meal that was just absolutely terrible that sticks out in your mind? You don't need to name and shame, but just
Oh,
curious.
yeah, let's not do that, but yes, I remember ordering a couple months ago from a restaurant that I had a recommendation that it was good, and I
Mhm.
had it. It was cold, the asparagus were just falling, and it just wasn't a good meal. It I don't wanna talk
Nice.
about it anymore, but yeah, it was not good.
Traumatized.
A little
Cold,
bit.
limp asparagus. That's
Yes.
extremely appetizing. Number 5, what sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise? Um, Probably just music. I love music.
Any particular type? Just music in general.
Piano. I love the piano. I played for a couple of years.
Nice. What sound or noise do you hate?
Oh, I know this one. Texting, the clicking? I don't like that
You
one.
That's unusual. Why?
Yes. It is just irritates the core out of me when someone's texting and the volume's on. I don't know, I just don't it just irritates me so much that I'll go over and just turn it down.
There might be an issue for you, given that you'll be about to be surrounded by a lot of young women who might be
I
very active on
know.
social and might have their volume turned up, and they'll be in the corner going tick tick tick, and you'll be just be like they're trying not to go absolutely mental.
I'll learn to
Um,
just have self-control in that moment.
well, just get a candle and do a meditation over it. You got plenty of
Yeah.
candles. You might need to do one right there.
Yes.
Um, so number 7, if you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
I would fly. I think that'd be the coolest thing to be able to fly and travel because I love traveling. Just to be able to fly and go wherever I would like. But I also think teleporting would be pretty cool.
Okay, so you have to pick one. You can't have
The
both.
flying,
So
the
would you
flying,
rather teleport or fly?
flying, but they're both so cool.
Okay, all right. Number 8. Interesting to ask an entrepreneur. Number 8. What job other than your own would you most like to attempt, or maybe what's a business you would like to start?
Oh my goodness. Um, One that I've been working on is possibly an event planning business or an event venue business.
Hmm,
That's one I'd
interesting.
probably start.
Okay.
Or a
And number
florist.
9.
Those kinda work hand in hand.
They do. Wedding planning. There's a lot of money in wedding planning, believe me. You
Yes,
add the
there
word wedding in
is.
front of anything, and immediately your revenues go to 200% just because you got the word
That's
wedding in front of it. It's like
that's
it's
what
a
I said.
venue, $100 an hour. Oh, it's a wedding venue. $300 an hour. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
easy.
I should get into the wedding planning business.
There you
Number
go.
9. What job would you definitely not like to attempt?
I definitely know that I would not like to be a doctor. Blood does not do well for me, and then the precision that it requires when you're doing surgeries, and I couldn't do it.
Okay, I think that's perfectly understandable. Number 10, final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Ugh, I've actually thought about this before. Just, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." I know that says that in the Bible, and that's something that I think would just truly be, for myself, the most amazing words to hear, that you've run the race and you've just done everything that your life was meant to do and serve your purpose. So,
Perfect. Well, Rose, thank you so much for coming on. That's about it. And best of luck at the pageant.
thank you.
I'm not going to remind you of how close it is. I'm sure you're very aware of it.
And I wanted to show just my book real quick.
I was
If
going to
anyone-
ask if you had the book. I didn't know that you had it there.
I did. I just wanted to show it if anyone is interested in purchasing it. The link was,
Put it
yep,
there
right
again.
here. The link is there, and 50% of the sales goes towards Beauty for a Cause, and then the 50% of the other half goes towards a fund that will translate this book into Ukrainian. So, yeah,
Perfect.
that is it.
Perfect. All right. Well, Rose, I will keep you on the line for just a second whilst I hang up with the audience. So thanks to
All right.
everyone for watching, whether
Thank
it's live on the
you.
replay. And we'll speak to you next time. Bye.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Sorority Access is now open. So if you'd like to join an amazing group of women and learn how to be the most powerful, confident, and impactful queen possible, head to thepageantsorority.com. I'll see you there and see you in the next video.